All right, so welcome everyone. We are just waiting a little bit for folks to join our session here. If you want, I think it's always nice to let folks know what part of the country you're joining us from. So a lot of us are based in California, some people from Pittsburgh, Missoula, Montana, Ohio. So pretty representative of the US. Maybe there's some people from the Southwest here, from the East Coast. Oh, there you go. Dallas, Orlando, Austin. That's great. So it is a national conference. So I'm glad to see different folks from different parts of the country. Oregon, Denver, Pennsylvania. Great. Anyone from Hawaii or Alaska? Not yet. Maybe next year. Okay, should we get started?
Yeah, I think you can go ahead and get started.
All right. Um, I don't know where the title screen went or if we have one. Ruth.
Patty, you want to go ahead and share that screen again? There you go.
Great. So welcome everyone. This session is Youth on the Front Line of Culture Change. I'm Freddie Coronado. I'm today's session moderator. A little bit about me. I'm advisor to Zero Waste Youth USA, which you can say is the baby child or the baby arm of Zero Waste USA. Zero Waste USA. I'm also on the board of the Northern California Recycling Association. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to moderating today's session. With me, we have, 1 second here. I have Bonnie Betts, who's the content coordinator for Zero Waste Youth USA. Michelle Barton with Zero Waste, who's the Zero Waste Education Manager for Home Resource. Frederica Siren, author speaker of Zero Waste Family. And virtually or through our recording, we'll have Santosh Kumar Mishra, Dr. Santosh Kumar Mishra, who's an independent researcher based in India. So we have a pretty good, well-rounded session. And I'll be moderating the Q&A, the chat. So if you do have any burning questions, maybe we can wait till after everyone presents. And I'm looking forward more to have an open dialogue. So when everyone's presented, maybe we can all go on mute. I'll call on people who raise their hands. If you're too shy to do that, we can do the chat. So with that, I'm going to introduce our first session speaker. So I have Bonnie Betts, who's going to be our first presenter. Bonnie, if you want to share your screen. And while you do that, so Bonnie and I are colleagues in terms that we both are with Zero Waste Youth USA. But Bonnie is a traveling nomad, a project manager, zero waste advocate, and environmental content creator, as a mission-driven social media and marketing consultant in the resource recovery and zero waste space. In 2019, Bonnie joined Zero Waste Youth USA to lead community engagement and content development for our annual youth convergence. For the past 2 years, Bonnie's focus has been to support programs that build leadership skills and empower youth to advocate for zero waste in their communities. So with that being said, Bonnie, I'm gonna pass it on to you.
Thank you, Freddie, and hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Bonnie Betts, and I joined Zero Waste Youth USA in 2019 as a planning volunteer for our annual youth convergence. And I have recently taken a paid internship opportunity to support the organization in administering their programs and volunteers in this next chapter. I am here today not only to tell you about Zero Waste Youth USA as a youth-led organization, but how we're engaging in the zero waste movement on the front lines of culture change. And the title that I have listed here is really the ethos of our organization, because if we're not having fun with purpose, then what are we really here for? I'm going to start by speaking on who we are as an organization and what we do. Zero Waste Youth USA is a USA chapter of an international organization called Zero Waste Youth, which originated in Brazil. And for the purposes of this presentation, if I say Zero Waste Youth instead of Zero Waste Youth USA, I'm still talking about our USA chapter, and so I can alleviate any confusion there. Our USA chapter started in 2013, and we're headed in the San Francisco Bay Area. And for the past 10 years, we have been led by and continue to serve high school youth, college students, and young professionals with the mission to develop and promote concepts for a zero waste future that emphasize actionable solutions upstream and downstream in order to conserve our natural resources. And the picture here on the screen is from our 2018 Youth Convergence gathering in San Francisco at the City College of San Francisco. More about our mission. We are building leaders for a zero waste future by empowering youth with the knowledge and skills to advocate for zero waste in their communities. And we do this through different modes, such as community building, professional development, and advocacy. And community building is important because we care about enhancing our community of like-minded individuals in order to continuously have support and resources for folks to advocate for zero waste in their networks. We also care about professional development because it's important. If our members want to have a career in zero waste, then we can be the bridge to experienced professionals in the field. And advocacy is important to us because we are creating system change through building awareness with the goal of influencing policy creation. So for example, at the bottom picture you see there on the screen is an example of a brand audit that we did during a beach cleanup. And this is meant to influence companies to change their business models by calling them out on social media. This can be an effective tool for changing consumer purchasing behavior, as well as calling for extended producer responsibility. As I mentioned in my last slide, we empower our members through different modes. And some examples here we have listed on the screen, we continue to plan and engage in. For example, our annual Youth Convergence is our largest gathering, which we are currently planning for, supposed to be in March of 2023. And we intend to have a gathering of middle school and high school youth, college students, teachers, and professionals from the Bay Area and beyond, learning and engaging in lectures and workshops on topics within the zero waste movement. Now I would like to transition and talk about an initiative with our new community partners that really supported us during the rocky times of the pandemic. When thinking about Zero Waste Youth being a youth-led organization and how we're engaging in the zero waste movement, in my experience, I found that at its core is being in community with our partners. And this really came front and center the last 2 years of the pandemic. And I think we can all agree that the pandemic rocked the culture of modern day society. Perhaps we took for granted what kept us viable as a culture, because it's communal culture that is our culture. Thankfully, in 2020, right before lockdown, we became friends with staff at the California State Parks. This allowed us to find a sense of normalcy in the abnormal. In 2020, we piloted a series of socially distant beach cleanups, and this allowed us to carry out our mission and was especially vital during a time when so many of us were feeling disconnected from life, social causes, school, and nature. The pandemic has been especially hard on our recruitment and retention because of feelings of burnout, online schooling disrupting the environmental clubs of our members, and many students graduated off only to enter the abyss of an online world. The picture shown in the slide is of a cleanup we did at Candlestick Point in San Francisco, and we collected 53 5-gallon buckets of materials over a 3.5-hour work span. And the parks staff were especially grateful for our time since they were severely understaffed and experiencing unprecedented amounts of litter during this time. In 2021, we had the pleasure of collaborating with the San Jose Conservation Corps and Charter School. This was a perfect fit because 1, our missions aligned, and 2, it extended the cleanup manpower, and 3, we enjoyed having fun in a larger group of diverse individuals to connect with. The picture shown here is from our cleanup of July in 2021. We had 17 people with us that day, and 3 hours of work total, we were able to collect 45 pounds of microplastics, and we saved the park staff 51 hours of solo cleanup time. And I also want to mention that our partnership activities have extended beyond just cleanups. For example, we asked our California State Park friends to speak at our convergence last year, which they did. And then the San Jose Conservation Corps and Charter School hosted a table at our virtual career fair for our youth. And as we move on and out of this pandemic, we get to take with us our experiences, our partnerships, and new understandings of how we engage in the next chapter of Zero Waste Youth USA. What you see on the screen here is a screenshot of a long-term visioning brainstorm exercise that we recently did. And wherever it is and whatever it is that we choose to do, once we find our sea legs entering this new normal, we know our sense of culture is broadened now in how we connect in person and online. I want to thank you for listening to me today, and feel free to reach me via email, and we are always welcoming new planning volunteers, and you can also keep up with us on social media for our recent happenings. Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie. That was a great overview of Zero Waste Youth. I'm just going to drop in the link of our website on the chat in case you want to contact us. And again, like Bonnie mentioned, we are hosting our 10th annual convergence in March of next year. So we are a national organization. So even though most of our memberships are in the Bay Area, we are always looking for session speakers that are based in other parts of the country. So please do follow up with us, with Bonnie. And I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Who is it? Okay, it's Frederica Siren, sorry, Frederica, I might not be saying your last name correctly, is the book author of Practical Guide to Zero Waste for Families. Frederica is an environmental writer and activist who lives a zero waste life with family in an urban homestead 10 minutes from downtown San Diego. Very, very cool. So with that, I'm going to pass it to you, Frederica.
There we go. I'm gonna mute myself. Thank you everyone for having me. I'm so honored to be part of this conference and to be here on this panel with so many amazing and inspiring speakers. We are a family of 5. I have 3 children. You can see them in my beautiful children in the picture here. There are Isabella, who is 16, it's Noah, who is 11, and little Liam, who is 9. We are raising our family zero waste. And we've been doing that since 2015, when my husband decided to remove our trash can. Now, our journey began way before then. It actually began in 2006. I've been a mentor writer for over 20 years. But in 2006, I became a mom and realizing that climate change was going to be the biggest threat that my kids were going to face. So we began to take small steps. But in 2015, we were ready to pull the trash can, so to speak. Zero waste means that we do not produce any waste at all. We live by the motto, if we can't reuse it, recycle it, or compost it, we will refuse it. So basically, we are refusing creating waste. We live on an urban homestead, which is basically our backyard. It's located 10 minutes from downtown San Diego. We grow on the front of the house, on the side of the house, in the back of the house, even in the driveway. We grow about 70% of our own food. And we do this so we can eat as sustainable, package-free, and make sure that our kids eat the very healthiest thing they can do. So, being zero waste as two adults is one thing, but as you know, children comes with a lot of waste. As a matter of fact, a baby can go through over 2,000 diapers in the first year. That's a lot of plastic and waste going to the landfill. And then if you throw in also, you know, food pouches and toys and wipes, well, it just adds up to become a lot of waste. So how do we reduce waste as a family? Well, first of all, we focus mostly on reusable things and skip the disposable things. So, for example, we used the reusable cloth diapers and wipes. We made our own baby food. And we also today, we send our kids to schools with a school lunch. So we pack the school lunch with homemade food and snacks, or we buy snacks in bulk. And we send them in reusable bento boxes, sandwich bags, thermoses, and we send them, of course, with their own cutleries, water bottles, and napkins, all reusable. All the clothes, shoes, toys, and furniture that we have in our family, we buy secondhand mostly. We also make all our food and snacks from scratch. And because we have 3 very active kids, we have a future actor, we have a dancer, we have a soccer player, which means that we leave the house a lot, and zero waste at home is one thing. Zero waste when you leave the house is a little bit more tricky. It requires a little bit more planning, but we always pack our own food and lunch and bring it with us. So arts and craft. Now that's a huge source of waste. And my kids, they definitely love arts and crafts. So we usually make our own arts and crafts from scratch using either recyclable materials from our neighbors' recycle bins or things we just simply have at home. And we will make them Play-Doh and colored sands and our own crayons, sidewalk chalk, you name it, we will make it. Okay, so if you have kids, obviously you have birthday parties. And birthday parties can be another source of waste. But we bypass that by simply skipping anything disposable. So today we have actually a big bin where we have reusable cups, plates, made from bamboo and cutleries, even decoration. And we bring a compost and we use that. And actually it becomes so popular that it's now making its round around the school. We bake our own cake and cupcakes and snacks, or we go to the farmer's market to buy it package free. So for gifts, the first thing we do for birthday parties is we say no gifts because birthday parties for my kids are all about hanging out with their friends and eating a lot of cake and having fun. So, but we also try to give less gifts as a family. We focus a lot on experiences, which is something my kids actually love. They get to pick something fun that they would like to do. And it can be anything from going to a movie. They could be having a picnic, spending a day on the beach, you name it. It's just their day. We also give homemade gifts. My daughter actually made blankets for her brothers last year for Christmas. It was highly recommended, or highly appreciated, I should say. We also, of course, give gifts. We buy them secondhand. And I actually believe that we should normalize secondhand gift giving to kids. They really don't care. If the parents don't care, they don't care. Well, last resort, if we do buy something new, we buy it from a local producer if we can, we buy ethical, and of course, zero waste. So one of the benefits of our lifestyle, it is, of course, first and most, we are good role models for our kids. We're raising the next generation. So I really believe that they modeled, kids learn anything from their parents, of course. And I already see what a little eco-minded kids they have become already. It saves us money. It actually saves us $18,000 a year. People think that zero waste is actually going to be more expensive. It's actually for us, depending how you do zero waste, I guess. For us, it saves a lot of money. And because of that, it also saves us time because we don't have to work as hard and as much. It makes life less complicated. People think that our life is very complicated because we're making a lot of things from scratch. But I have to say that we didn't do this to complicate our life. We did this to uncomplicate our life. But the most important reason it is because it reduces the eco-anxiety in our kids. Eco-anxiety is actually on the rise. And it is so sad to see how many children are so worried about climate change. They hear about it in social media from their friends on the news. And like my kids, they actually feel it every day living in Southern California. They feel it from the droughts, from the wildfires, the polluted air. And imagine, as an adult, I think that climate change is really overwhelming. Imagine what it must feel like for a child. So how do we help children reduce their fear of climate change? Okay, no. We need to turn their fear into action. And how do we do this? Well, I understand that we want to, as a parent, we want to shield our children, and we do not want to share any information about climate change because it is a scary thing. But believe me or not, but children mostly do know about it more than we think. So the best thing we can do is actually open the conversation to them. So start by asking your children, and this all depends on the different age of the children, of course, but ask them, what do they know about climate change and how do they feel about it? And then, of course, be a good listener and be patient with them, because this is hard for them to put into words, and sometimes maybe require them to write it or maybe to draw it. Well, not all of us are scientists, and kids will have questions about climate change. So I suggest that the best thing we can do is learn together. There is so many books out there for different ages about climate change and explaining to children about climate change. I think that we also, next thing we should do is actually, as a family, come together and have an action list. Involve the children in the decision making on, like, okay, what steps can we take as a family to reduce our waste? This will give the children a sense of having an empowerment. And I think this is so important for them to feel a bit better about this. And it can be as simple as we're going to bring our bags to the shoppings when we go shopping. It can be we're going to go to a farmer's market. We can not use the car so often. Let them be part of that decision making process. I think volunteering is something that is very underrated. We volunteer as a family on a regular basis. We clean beaches with surf riders here in San Diego. We also volunteer with Produce Good. We collect unsold food at the farmer's market and divert them to people in need. I will also say that spending time in nature, if you want to raise eco-minded children, spending time in nature is the most important step that we can take. And it can be as simple as going camping, going to the beach, taking a nature walk, hiking, or spending time in a garden or plant a garden. It doesn't have to be as big as our garden, of course. It could just be simple as planting a herb garden or just one plant, because they will learn so much about nature, and they can learn about science, and they can learn about math and biology just being out in nature. And they can see how beautiful nature is, how sensitive it is, but also how absolutely resilient it is at the same time. Thank you so much. It's been such an honor for me to be here today.
Thank you, Frederica. That's amazing to have a whole zero waste family, including multiple couple children too. So it's not just one. So thanks for those words of advice. I have several questions, but I'll wait until our Michelle presents. So I'm going to introduce next our third speaker for today's session. we have Michelle Barton, who is the Zero Waste Education Manager at Home Resource, all the way in Missoula, Montana. Michelle is excited to work alongside students and community members to create a more sustainable place to live where everyone can thrive. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it to Michelle to lead us in the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much to Frederica and Bonnie. Your presentations were amazing. And I think it's just really nice to hear what everyone else is doing and how it all ties together. And so I'm really excited to be here. Like Freddie said, my name is Michelle Barton. I'm the Zero Waste Education Manager with a nonprofit called Home Resource in Missoula, Montana. And I'm here to talk to you all today about our education programs and more specifically our 5th grade ambassador education program. So a little bit about Home Resource. We're a community sustainability center. So basically, Home Resource is a place where you can bring your old building materials. So if you're remodeling, deconstructing, things like that, it's just a thrift store for building materials. We also have a fully functioning wood shop where we do educational workshops for folks on how to build things, how to repair their things. So our whole mission is kind of centered around keeping stuff out of the landfill and into the hands of the people in our community so they can afford building materials for their homes. So we also have a couple other programs at Home Resource other than our big warehouse of stuff that focus on zero waste. So we have zero waste infrastructure and zero waste education. And both of these programs came from the 0 by 50 plan. So Missoula has this plan to be zero waste by the year 2050. And Home Resource and a couple other stakeholders came together and decided that there were 4 main pathways that we could reach this goal. And I've highlighted education in the bottom of the screen because it's my favorite one, but also that's the one that I focus on the most. So Home Resource's biggest education program is our Zero Waste Ambassadors program called ZWAP, and it's for 5th graders. It was created in partnership with Missoula County Public Schools. It's STEM aligned and it is growing. We're really super excited. We had over close to 750 students go through the program last year, and we're starting to see participation from neighboring communities. So it's really super exciting. So the key ZWAP questions we like to answer in this program is we just like to have an interactive conversation with the students of where does our stuff come from? Where does it go when we're done with it? How is our stuff impacting the planet and people? What do we have in our control? 5th graders are 10, 11. So how much agency do they have? How much agency do I have? Does our community have? And how can we work together to create a more sustainable community and planet? So we address these questions by introducing the students to the materials economy. So we ask them, where does their stuff come from? What is their stuff made out of? And a lot of the times they'll say plastic and wood and metal and things like that. And we say, okay, let's go a little bit further. Where does that stuff come from? So all of our stuff comes from a natural resource, even if it looks like, you know, an expo marker or something that's very far removed from a natural resource. It all comes from somewhere natural. And then we talk about factories, stores. We talk about our homes, using our stuff in our homes, and then throwing our stuff away. And the fact that there actually is no away. It's the Missoula landfill. And pre-COVID, we were able to take the students to the landfill so they could actually see what it was like. But we will slowly be getting that program back as guidelines change a little bit. But so having that conversation of it's so easy in this materials economy to make waste, to just simply throw something away. So it actually doesn't go anywhere. It stays right here in our community and our landfill is filling up. So let's have that conversation about some actions that we can take. So Frederica and Bonnie both mentioned this eco-anxiety, and 10-year-olds totally, they feel it and they want something fun to do. They want something tangible to do. So that's when we introduce our R words, our reduce, reuse, recycle, request. What are things that we can actually do to take our linear materials economy and make it more circular, like our natural systems that we have? So the first part of the ZWAP program is we go into classrooms for about an hour and we talk about our stuff. What is the stuff that we have in our classroom? Where is our landfill? Where do we get our drinking water? How does that relate to landfills and stuff like that? And what is this concept of zero waste? And then we wrap up the classroom visit with something called the visioning activity. So if the world did go zero waste, what would that look like to you? And usually it's big, happy planets and green trees, blue skies, tiny little trash cans, big compost piles, stuff like that. So in between the classroom visit and the field trip, we give them a bingo card with zero waste actions that they can do individually and as a class. So things like reusing a Ziploc bag during your lunch. We see so many Ziploc bags wasted in school cafeterias. Trying to repair something instead of just throwing it away and getting a brand new thing. So they fill out all of this bingo card, they bring it to us when they come for their field trip. And the point of the field trip is really just to show them zero waste in action. So this is an organization in our community that is trying to keep things out of the landfill, and that's what that looks like. So they go on a tour of our warehouse, they see all the materials, they go on a building scavenger hunt, they play ZWAP the game where they recreate the materials economy and name the actions that they can take to make it more sustainable. And then we talk about our ambassador actions. So as a zero waste ambassador, you can learn these actions and know that you have a choice, and then you can share it with your family, with your friends. You can share it with people so they can also know how to be more zero waste and more sustainable. And these actions look like using a reusable water bottle, practicing zero waste at meal times, reusing your Ziploc baggies. I really stress that one. Shopping secondhand, things like that. And then they wrap up their experience with signing the ZWAP wall. So that signifies that they're a zero waste ambassador. And then we also make our little name tags out of, we have a lot of materials that we'll never sell here. We have so many light switch covers, so we make name tags out of that, or we chop up old fan blades in our wood shop and they think that that's super fun. So these are a couple quotes from some teachers that it's so impactful. Like I said earlier, that eco-anxiety is real, and even kiddos as young as 10 years old, they feel it, and they're already aware of climate change, and they're already aware of these things when we come to them with this program. And so we have this beautiful opportunity to show them that there are ways that there are actions that they can take. There are things that they can do and we can all do. And it can be fun too. Creative reuse is super, super exciting, and we can turn our interests into action. And they are really excited about rethinking and redesigning, and they know that there is a disposable culture happening. And so if we can just rethink our system, it can be more sustainable for us. So after the school season lets out, we have a couple summer camps. So if students want to continue their zero waste education, they can come on these summer camps and bring their little siblings. Some of them are super excited about that. Some of them don't want to bring their little siblings. But our summer camps basically just focus on zero waste sustainability in our community, but mostly just tools and materials. So how can we learn how to use tools to fix our stuff? How can we learn how to use tools to make new things out of old things? So you'll see a couple of pictures of students holding up little wooden robots. We call those reuse robots. We source all of our education materials out of our own in-house waste. So we'll go into our wood shop and get our little wood scraps, and we'll let them build some stuff, and it's really fun. We also did a citizen science summer camp this year where we were looking for nurdles. We have a couple rivers running through Missoula, so we were looking for plastic nurdles. And if we didn't find any, which we thankfully didn't find any, but we do trash cleanups, and we talk about the types of trash that we find and why it's usually plastic and how long plastic lasts. And you'll see a little Talenti container bear that someone made up here. So yeah, just what are things we can do with this material? So another thing that we do in our summer camps and we talk about in our ZWAP program is, like I said earlier, turning our interests into action. So what are our community partners and what are they doing? What are other sustainable organizations doing? So we go to composting facility that picks up the neighborhood compost on bicycle. And then we go to the Recycling Works, which is a glass recycling facility in Missoula. And then we go to Free Cycles, which is a place where you can bring your old bicycle if you don't want it anymore. You can learn how to fix a bicycle, to talk about sustainable transportation. So all of these organizations have folks who are super passionate about those subjects. And we also talk a lot about access. So it costs a lot of money for families to recycle in Montana. Our recycling infrastructure is very spread out because we have a lot of mountains and a lot of Montana things. And so it's difficult for families to recycle sometimes and to start composts. And so we talk about being zero waste in school. So we're seeing a big shift in the schools systems. They're starting to prioritize being zero waste. And so they can start to have zero waste cafeterias where every student can compost and can recycle and can be a part, have access to those things. So yeah, that's basically it. I can't stress enough that in order for these students to get excited about the future, we have to make it exciting for them. This is the problem. These are the problems that we're facing, and these are the things that we can do. And even if they're teeny tiny little actions, they add up, and we can still have a fun, promising future with our materials. So that's it for me. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Michelle. That's great. I've personally heard great things of Missoula, Montana. This solidifies that, a small community in the mountains can do it, and that education is very important to lead the next generation towards zero waste. So looking forward to more of the chat after and to following questions. Thanks again for that wonderful presentation. I think our next speaker is not here, but he left us a recording, so that's fantastic. And while the video gets set up, I'd like to introduce Santosh Kumar Mishra, who has a PhD and is an independent researcher living in Mumbai, India. So Santosh retired from the Population Education Center at the Women's University in 2020. His areas of interest and expertise include population and development, sustainable development, and gender issues. Recently, Dr. Mishra conducted an independent research project to understand how the Zero Waste Camp program of Zero Waste Belgium is accelerating the Zero Waste Youth movement. So Dr. Mishra is traveling today and is unable to attend the conference, but has recorded a brief presentation of his findings.
All right, I will share. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna do, maybe this is Control L. No, sorry, not that. I'll go ahead and play. Let me know if you can hear it.
Good afternoon. So I'm making this presentation through pre-recorded video. Title of my presentation is Initiatives of Zero Waste Belgium in Striving in Excellence in Zero Waste through Youth Movement, undertaking a systematic review of the data which have been published on the subject of zero waste and how the zero waste issues can be addressed through youth. And let's have a look about how this Zero Waste Belgium has gone ahead with its program wherein it has involved the youth population, youth resources in order to achieve the objective of zero waste. So the Zero Waste Belgium initiative was started in 2018 and it has been supporting youth movement groups in the Belgium in order to reduce their waste as a part of Zero Waste Belgium camp project. So what this Zero Waste Belgium did is that it implemented a unique idea of what I call Zero Waste camp. So through the Zero Waste camps, a lot of all youth, interested youth, they were involved, they were given training, and they were educated about the repercussions of damage to the environment, and also the importance of having the concept of zero waste in Brussels, in other parts of Belgium. So, and through this zero waste camp project, there were initiatives are made to equip the camp leaders. So among the youth, some those youth with leadership skills, they were identified as camp leaders, and they were equipped with the skills and knowledge to reduce their waste during the camp. And also they were motivated to disseminate this knowledge in turn to others among the youth, number one, and also among community around them, both rural and urban community around them. And also they were encouraged to inculcate this concept of zero waste living among their own families, among their own parents, and among the people and neighborhood people living around them. So and it's very important to note that within Belgium, there is a deep history of having summer camps and activities designed for all young people right from the age of 4 years onwards. So Zero Waste Belgium found it very interesting to take initiatives wherein they could involve the youth. And through these camps, an opportunity was created wherein young people were motivated to look into the ways in which the objective zero waste can be achieved. And in this context, the Zero Waste Belgium initiative, they designed advanced training models wherein youth were taught about participation, about waste management, about hygiene, material choices, mobility, and other related areas. And then STP come to the, I talk in terms of outcomes of the initiative. What were the outcomes? So data shows that with just 9 groups of youth supported in 2018, a significant change took place in the Belgium city and the surrounding areas. And the data on program initiatives outcome also shows that with the right support, all groups were able to reduce their trash. So this is I think one of the very significant outcome of the Zero Waste Belgium initiative. And there was a 2-week training camp wherein 40 people produced an average of just 4 bags of residual waste in comparison to 12 bags generated in previous year. So this is another, I think, another important initiative. So now I need to summarize, begin, and to conclude. I say that the Zero Waste Camp project was designed to target young people first and foremost, getting them to rethink their personal consumption choices. And the Zero Waste Belgium initiative believes that this experience can have a long-term effect on their attitudes regarding waste and why it is important to reduce it drastically. And this project shows that with a clear support and training, individuals can very easily reduce their waste by significant amount of Belgium. And according to the estimates by Zero Waste Belgium initiative, if zero waste principles are applied to the whole of population, Belgium citizens should produce only 50 kg of waste a year. So this is the projection by this Zero Waste initiative. This is challenging. It's a beautiful idea, but it's very challenging. Not so easy to achieve the targets. And this would align with what is being achieved in some of the Europe's best performing, they call it zero waste city. So they have in the European region, they have a concept of zero waste city. So these are the important initiatives. So seeing the time limit allotted to me, I think I must end my presentation. And I would be happy to respond to the question, to the feedback, and also to any other aspect of the presentation. So with this, I end my presentation. I once again thank the conference, National Zero Waste Conference organizers to providing me the opportunity to present my research work at this important aspect. Thank you.
Okay. So Freddie, back to you. And I'll go ahead and I can unmute folks. And if they want to unmute themselves, they can do that. How about that? You can.
Sure. Yeah. So Yeah, just heard Dr. Kumash. It was a little bit hard to understand, but showing again the importance of like getting kids involved through zero waste camps and how that builds skills. So you've heard a well-rounded presentations, Bonnie, on building leadership and skills, providing that space to showcase projects, activities. So empowering you to be zero waste. Frederica on homesteading, raising zero waste lifestyles, whether it's bringing reusables. Michelle gave us the presentations on the importance of education and ways and actions that students can take. So with that, yeah, let's have, are there any questions for our speakers? Well, I have a couple that we can, I think for Frederica, I have one for you. And I guess what is the main point of advice that you have for a family that wants to go zero waste? Because you had different actions, but is there one that you would say is more important than the others?
I would say that, first of all, I have to say when you're starting with a family, you have to do it together, and also take one step at a time. Baby steps. It's baby step, one little change at a time, and make that work before you move on to the next one, and also celebrate that step. I would say the most important step and the one that we made the most difference in how much trash we produce was actually reducing our food waste. And it was just storing food a different way and also inventory our food and having a leftover eating day, which is actually coincidentally the most popular eating day among my kids.
Great, thank you. For Michelle, I think we got one as well. So why focus a curriculum on fifth graders versus say high school or even third grade?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually asked that question when I first started working at Home Resource. I was like, what's so special about fifth graders? They're at this really beautiful age where they can really understand big concepts. And we can kind of start to build an introduction to some skills that they can take with them into middle school and high school. So it's just a really good age. And they also are kind of the top of their class in their elementary schools. And so the idea is that as zero waste ambassadors, they can help out the younger folks in their schools too, and be examples for them in zero waste. And we do have some plans to create a sixth grade curriculum that's going out in the middle schools in Missoula as well. So we're piloting that this year, and then we have a high school group. So the goal is to create this thread of sustainability curriculum in Missoula schools. So thanks for asking.
Thank you. Okay, I think I see a hand. Jeremy, I'm calling on you.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to follow up on what Michelle said about ZWAP. So I started ZWAP back in 2016 when I was at Home Resource. I'm so just thrilled to see how it's grown since then under Michelle's leadership. I love the bingo card. That's fantastic. Just wanted to add another kind of logistical piece for why fifth grade is because here in Missoula and maybe in most places, fifth graders still have homeroom. Like they are in the same classroom all day long. And so logistically speaking, it's easy to coordinate with the teacher and say, can you bring your class? When they get to sixth grade, they start popping around from different classes. So they're at the, they're at the most intellectually kind of advanced level that makes it in a system that makes it easy to coordinate. So that was another factor in figuring that out too. Thanks.
Very interesting. Any other questions, comments, ideas? Feel free to go on mute or type in the chat.
Freddie. I'll just mention I'm really excited about these new ideas on how to engage youth, especially through the summer camps and then the fun bingo games. So I think it's a really great idea to have this sort of ambassador framework so that it can continue to domino effect through the different ages and spheres. So yeah, I really appreciate getting to hear this great information today.
And I see a hand by Ryan.
Can you hear me all right? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, hi. I thought I'd just share a quick anecdote, which I think is like a good kind of lesson of the importance of zero waste education. And that's that I mentioned I work at EcoCycle in Boulder, Colorado. And we've been doing zero waste and recycling education since the late 80s. And one of the kids that, we taught in the late 80s, early 90s is now the first gentleman of Colorado, Merlin Reese. So, and he's still a friend of EcoCycle. So I just, kudos to you all who put in the effort and talk to kids because it really does make a difference. We're doing sustainable efforts for the future. And, just sharing that example shows how it really makes a difference as kids grow.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Any other hands or comments? Seeing there are none, I would say Michelle, Bonnie, Frederica, like if people want to say follow you on social media or like get in contact with you, what's the best way? Can you put the links to your social medias on the chat if you have one, or your website? I think that'd be a great opportunity for people to take back with them. Great, thank you. So we have a couple more minutes. I guess up the session, we're on break until 11. So that's 10 minutes, about 10 minutes from now. Please follow us, Zero Waste Youth USA, or on Instagram, on Facebook, we're even on LinkedIn. And I hope to see all of you at the 10th Annual Zero Waste Convergence, including Michelle, Frederica, if you wanted to present or have your students present, that would be great. And everyone else in attendance too. We hope to see you at the 10th Annual Zero Waste Youth Convergence. And really, really thank you for attending today's session, that youth are part of the equation to going to zero waste, getting to zero waste. And of course, it is the next generation, and that's who's going to lead us there. So with that being said, I will let you all go. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Thanks, Freddie.
Thank you. Bye.